Ever tried to set up a little server room at home or a cramped office, only to find the UPS you bought online looked perfect on the page but left you staring at a blinking red light when the power actually flickered? That moment of frustration spending good money on something that promises 3000 VA, 9 outlets, rack-mountable, and then realizing it can't hold the load you need for even a few minutes drives a lot of people to double-check every spec before they click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review I'm going to walk through exactly what the Smartpro 2U Rack/Tower UPS brings to the table, where it shines, and where it might leave you wishing you'd read a few more reviews first. First, let's talk about the kind of situation the Smartpro is built for. The 2U form factor means you can slide it into a standard 19-inch rack or set it on a shelf as a tower. Flexibility that matters if you're juggling a mix of network switches, a small NAS, and maybe a few PO injectors. The 9 outlets give you room to plug everything in without needing an extra power strip, and the fact that it's Taa compatible means it meets the requirements for government contracts, so it's not a cheap, off-brand unit disguised as a professional tool. For a modest office that already has a rack and wants to keep everything tidy, that dual-mount capability alone saves you a whole extra piece of hardware. Now, the headline number 3000 VA sounds huge, but the real story is in the battery capacity, listed as 570 joules. In a UPS, joules translate directly into how long the unit can actually sustain power when the grid drops. With 570J you're looking at roughly 3 to 5 minutes of backup for a typical load of around 500 W, maybe a bit longer if you only have a couple of low-power devices plugged in. That's enough time to let a UPS gracefully shut down a server or give you a window to flip a circuit breaker, but it's not enough to ride out a prolonged outage. If you need to keep a critical system online for half an hour or more, you'll have to either undersize your load dramatically or consider a UPS with a larger battery bank. A practical way to see this is to picture a small business that runs a point-of-sale terminal, a wireless router, and a backup laptop charger. Plug those into the Smartpro, and when the power sags, you'll get a clean switch to battery and probably a few solid minutes before the battery runs low. That's exactly the use case the device was designed for: short, clean transitions that protect data integrity and give you a chance to safely shut down. On the other hand, if you're looking to protect a desktop workstation with a high-end GPU or a rack of servers that collectively draw over a kilowatt, the 570J battery will be exhausted almost instantly, and you'll be left staring at a dead UPS. One thing I noticed when comparing the Smartpro to other units in the same price bracket is the trade-off between outlet count and battery size. Many UPSs that offer 3000 VA will either have fewer outlets or a bulkier external battery module. The Smartpro squeezes 9 receptacles into a compact 2U chassis, which is great for space-constrained installations, but that density means less room for a bigger internal battery. If you're comfortable adding a separate battery pack later, the Smartpro's modular design could accommodate that, but the base model you get out of the box is really a short-burst solution. Who should buy this thing? If you're a home lab enthusiast, a small office IT manager, or a freelance video editor who wants to keep a modest workstation and a few peripherals protected while you finish a project, the Smartpro checks the right boxes. Its rack mount flexibility means you can grow your setup without rethinking the power layout, and the 9 outlets let you avoid that tangled mess of power strips. It also makes sense for anyone who needs a UPS that can be deployed quickly in a government or corporate environment where TAA compliance is a non-negotiable requirement. Who should skip it? If your primary concern is long-duration backup for a heavy load, you'll likely be disappointed. Data centers, broadcast stations, or even a small studio that runs multiple monitors and audio equipment will need a UPS that can deliver at least 1015 minutes at full load, which translates to a battery capacity well above 2000J. In those cases you're better off looking at a higher capacity unit or a model that explicitly offers an external battery module you can scale up. Another nuance that shows up in real-world use is the way the Smartpro handles surge protection. The 9 outlets are a mix of battery-backed and surge-only, though the exact split isn't spelled out on the product page. In practice, you'll want to reserve the battery-backed sockets for your critical equipment like the NAS and router and use the surge-only sockets for peripherals that can tolerate a brief power loss, such as a printer or a desk.